Today on the Sound Health Podcast.
People start out terrified sometimes, or very rigid, or conditioned by the society to not trust themselves and not believe in their ability to even move, or much less give voice to a song that may be deep within their own soul to express. And there's all kinds of comparisons out there, and they don't feel they're good enough and have the right to. And these are all illusions that are put upon us just in the social mirror. Unfortunately, there are some things like that aren't as healthy or helpful to us.
Right.
And we have to break free.
Hey there, this is Jim Donovan. Welcome to the show. I am so glad you're here. Today we have a very special guest for you, a dear friend of mine, Shianne Eagleheart. Cheyenne is a licensed independent counselor, clinical supervisor, Native American ceremonial leader, and the executive director and founder of the Redbird Center in Cambridge, Ohio. Cheyenne has extensive clinical experience in the treatment of adult and adolescent trauma survivors as it relates to chemical dependency, PTSD, dissociative disorders, re-victimization, and violent offending. She is a multiple trauma survivor who has achieved both personal and professional success in healing from the effects of trauma, breaking a family cycle of violence, and contributing to a greater community healing. In recent years, Cheyenne has also developed healing practices for veterans and their families. Hey, Cheyenne, welcome to the show. I am so glad that you're here with us today.
It is my pleasure.
It's so good to have you on the show here. This is exciting for me to have someone like you be able to share with our listeners all the different things that you do with healing, veterans, and all the different audiences you work with. It's exciting work that you do. And I think that a lot of our listeners might have never heard of some of the things that we'll talk about today. So that's always exciting.
It is my honor to be here with you, Jim.
I'm wondering if we could just start kind of at the beginning. I'm wondering what initially drew you to healing work?
Well, if it's okay with you, I'd like to start by introducing myself coming from my tradition.
Yeah, please.
Okay. My name is Shianne Eagleheart. I am Haudenosaunee Seneca. Haudenosaunee is our word. It means people of the longhouse.
Yeah.
Was Yahweh. So that is just the formal way that I introduce myself. And I'm happy to be here and to share with you and your audience.
Thank you.
So to answer the question, what drove me into the healing work? I would say that it started with my own healing journey first. I'm a multiple trauma survivor and had a pretty deep and intensive healing recovery process. And after that occurred, working with my elders, developing the medicine tradition and effectiveness to help people recover from soul pain and loss and trauma became the next discipline. I'm also licensed in the field of counseling, so I integrate both the clinical as well as the earthway. And that passion to support others in healing, to bring them out of the difficulties that we can experience in our lives, is really deep within me. I'm 62 now, and I still have as much passion as I had back in 1985 when I started, because I know what it is like to live in darkness and suffer and have no hope. And the ones that help me come out of that pain and afford me the opportunity to live the way I live today with such success and joy, and my children and grandchildren, future generations, I never lose the passion to be another one that stands in the solution for healing for our communities.
That's a beautiful thing. And I'm really interested. You are a licensed counselor. Is that the correct term?
Yes.
And you also integrate healing modalities from Native American tradition. How do you find those play together?
A couple of things. First, the vision and the ancestral way of life gives me access to understanding about, we would term it the healing vision or model. The clinical would be the healing model.
Okay, sure.
And the steps that one takes for resolution and wholeness from whatever the challenge, whether it's PTSD, addiction, soul loss. It could be so many different things, illness. And the clinical training and experience in the field and networking with other professionals in the state of Ohio, across the country and internationally, connects me to a greater network of wisdom an advancement in the wisdom connected is there's an ancestral understanding and way of life that's been going on for generations, and then there's this new day, this modern day, where we have advanced our understanding about the heart and resolution of pain.
Yeah.
I do not typically use clinical terms as much, and I don't look at it from a mental health language model. I know that's common, but I just find that it takes me out of the understanding that I'm sitting with someone who's a person and a beautiful, amazing human being who may have found some challenge in their life that's preventing them from their full potential. And my mission is to really meet them where they're at and support the healing that's needed.
What I like about what you're saying is that it's not either or. It's not either Western clinical medicine or traditional Native American healing. There's wisdom to be brought from both places.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's so important to have that level of acceptance between both places. I know that you work with a variety of populations. Would you mind just describing for our listeners the different kinds of people that you work with?
Well, we work with individuals, families, and circles. So community circles, which might be a women's group. Part of our dedication is to our veterans community. We honor the warrior and their service, whether past conflicts or current day, preparing to go into conflict. We have very traditional ceremonies that are available to our veterans communities and those in direct service at this time. It's a very important part of our understanding that we support our warriors, and then when they return home, we want to stand with them as they integrate back into their lives and understand there may be needs that have developed as exposure to combat can be very devastating to the heart and to the soul. And so we want to stand with them in supporting resolution. We do work in penitentiary as well as youth corrections, mental health services, addiction programs. So many different, a lot of diversity of service over the years. Yes.
And some challenging populations, people that are dealing with some intense things that maybe typical people don't see very often.
Yes, that is certainly true.
Now, with all these different populations, with the veterans, with the family groups, the women's groups, what role does music play?
Well, in our ancestral tradition, working with music or the drum and all the other sacreds that we use, there is a power that we're calling on. And each culture has a different way that they language that.
Yep.
But we're entering into the sacred. We're entering into this place where the healing must happen for someone or a group. And so we call on the powers to assist us. And that's just a simple way that I speak. I don't speak for all natives and how they language it, but that's the way that I speak, is that we call on the powers, the divine power, the healing spirits to come and assist us in the healing that's needed. So there may be a song. We have spirit calling songs. We have healing songs. There may be a dance, movement. And this is an important part of our beginning when we enter into these places of healing. And so there's also the celebration that happens after someone has gone through transformation, stepping out, rites of passage, moving out of this place where they felt the challenge and now they're feeling the freedom, and there's songs of celebration.
Nice.
Songs that just carry us up into that place where we can realize our true nature, our true vision for who we are, and to go forth with an excitement and a joy that I can be who I am and be free to be who I am now. And it's very exciting. And some of those songs and dances can be pretty incredible and it's transformative in themselves, so that's true. That's a little glimpse. It's a lot. Questions, it has a lot of, I could say many things about it, but for now, that's a beginning.
Yeah, it's a big question. And I'm wondering, like in a women's healing circle, for example, what kind of transformation might you see? Like what does that look like?
Well, it depends on the circle. Like what I don't like schedule, for the year, these are the programs we'll be doing, the retreats. We don't work that way, but I do have someone who calls me, and I call them the gatekeeper. Those are people who call me and say, I have a women's circle or men's circle or a group of youth, and this is a vision or a goal that we have for our circle, and we'd like to co-create with you. We'd like to create an opportunity. And so depending on the circumstances, like if it's women in recovery,
Okay.
we're obviously inside the circle and people are telling their stories and letting some pain go if addiction has in some way challenged them or their families.
Yep.
If it's a circle of women who are really working on their gifts and their skills and their vision for their life, and they really want to move into greater states of advancement in their spiritual journey, the circle's designed in that way to support their development. And so it really just varies on the circle's intention or their need. And then we design something that really supports that. And that's very important to me because it's very unique. Every individual or group has a unique vision or need for themselves. And we really want to hear that and develop something that really is effective.
And that makes a lot of sense because there's really no one size fits all solution when we're dealing with this deeper kind of work. When people are singing, when they're moving their body, or when they're chanting or singing a song, what kinds of like physiological things have you seen regards to transformation?
People start out terrified sometimes, or very rigid, or conditioned by the society to not trust themselves and not believe in their ability to even move, or much less give voice to a song that may be deep within their own soul to express. And there's all kinds of comparisons out there, and they don't feel they're good enough and have the right to. And these are all illusions that are put upon us just in the social mirror. Unfortunately, there are some things like that aren't as healthy or helpful to us.
Right.
And we have to break free. And so in breaking free, this movement and encouraging people, we create a safe space. There's what we call giving your honor to the circle. So there's agreements that we start with that people say in the circle that they're going to respect each other and honor the ways that people express whatever form that it comes in. And when somebody really sees, oh my goodness, no matter what I do, it's okay. Oh, absolutely. That's the very best thing to do is what comes uniquely from you. And then all of a sudden, oh, okay. And people start to really, I watch the change. It changes their body, how they move. They're not rigid anymore. There's a flow, a fluidness to it. There's something that happens to their face. Now, if there's some pain that has to be expressed in the movement, maybe there's tears that fall. And if there's a freedom that's being expressed, maybe there's a joy and a light in their eyes that's never been seen before. And the joy and the way that the light comes forward. Some have said, I don't think my mouth has ever moved like that. I don't think I've ever smiled that way before. And so there's an excitement to this. They feel like this is more authentically who I am. And once that starts, that's a little bit of a start when they're here with us at Redbird. But when they leave, this continues on in ways that I've had people write back and call us or come back with stories about how it ignited not only transformation, but a new way to live and create in the world. It's very exciting. It's very exciting work to share in.
Yeah, it's like you're helping, the song or the movement, the spiritual aspect of it helps the person to uncover who they already are. It's not like we're adding anything to them. They're already fine. It's just
perfect. Yes, that's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. When in my own work doing drumming with people, I've experienced really similar things where people don't feel like they can or have that false belief that they're not good enough to do the drumming.
Yes.
And it's interesting, the similarities. I set this one ground rule, which is if you make a mistake, just smile and keep going.
I like that. Yes.
And it's beautiful to see how freeing that can be when everyone in the circle knows, hey, whatever you've got is exactly right.
Excellent.
Yeah. Now, first of all, just a point of information for our audience. A lot of people don't actually realize that there are many different Native American traditions. It's not just one tradition.
Yes.
And I wonder if you know, or if you could tell me a little bit about if, generally speaking, Native American traditions tend to use music for healing kind of in similar ways, or do you know if there's differences? Can you expand on that at all?
Yes, we serve intertribally here in the state of Ohio, our families and communities, as well as around across Turtle Island. And I've had the privilege of sitting in many circles and attending the powwows and all the gatherings that occur with the people. And there have been those that count. They've talked about 562 tribes, and there's probably more. And I'm not so much in that side of the statistics of it all, but I've witness and experience the blessing, the good medicine way for many of our tribal traditions. And music is in the forms that come through the drumming and the songs, the ancestral songs, the tribal songs. There are definitely some differences related to the language of the people and what has been passed on.
Yeah.
But there's also similarities around celebration, around healing, around honoring our elders and ancestors, around celebrating and supporting the children, all of these things. So, and I'm always still learning, of course, but this is a very much an integral part of our community is the music and the way that the songs and the dances are shared.
Yeah, it's something when I'm teaching students at the university, I talk to them about how the music isn't just for entertainment, especially in all of the different indigenous cultures I've looked at from Africa and Asia and Native America. Instead, it's more a part of the social fabric. It's that part that helps keep and has helped keep people together.
Yes.
I love hearing that that's still the case. Like that work continues even to this day. That's heartening to hear that.
Absolutely.
Now, when you go to create, so you get a call from someone and you're asked to come and do a circle. Are there specific ways that you use rhythm and music to support the healing ritual? Like, are there specific things that you do that you can share?
Well, we always begin with a gathering song, something that brings and calls everyone to the circle. And then once we're in the circle, we start with a spirit calling song and bringing the spirits in, honoring the ancestors that stand with us, and understanding that we're in relationship to the unseen world, the divine, and trusting that they come in to create that safety for us. And once and that's done with many different, it could be the song can be very ancient and old that's been passed down. And sometimes there's spirit songs, vocables as they're stated, that are just in that moment that they're coming because the spirits are singing through the singer. So those things happen, and using a rattle or a drum or eagle bone or could be any sacred that the spirit we are spirit guided here, and so the spirits will give us vision and knowing, understanding about what to do with each circle, and that's very important to us. So there's a lot of prayer and fasting and preparation that goes on long before a circle comes or we go out to help a community, and that's an important part of the success that happens is that we take that time. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's a
It
little bit.
does. And I'm hearing you say too that it's not that you just hop in your car and go and do the healing circle. You're preparing well in advance. You're preparing your mind and your body and your spirit to be in what, if I'm hearing it right, like a receptive condition so that you can receive that intuition or that guidance to be of the highest
Absolutely.
service.
Absolutely. And sometimes we're called into very highly volatile situations. One community had an act of violence that took the lives of two children. And when you're going into some of these situations, they're very, very critical.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have those in that unseen world helping me, knowing what to do and how to respond, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't dare think I had a right to. What could I possibly offer? But I really hear the situation, a lot of field work that happens long before we come with hearing from the people in the community, and then preparations, as I've indicated. And then once we arrive, there's more that may be revealed. And so we stay very open and never set like a rigid way of setting up the structure for the circle,
Yeah.
because sometimes that openness is going to be really important for sensitivity and respect.
And that's such a difference between an academic rubric driven methodology. Even though you're probably bringing a lot of that wisdom into your healing practice too, the way that you set it up is an ancient way of doing this, something that's been happening, if I understand it right, for a very, very long time.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like as a therapist, clinically, I was developed and really enhanced when you're a young person in your 20s. You're learning all of these things. Went to Gestalt Institute, all these places you go. You're so concerned about doing it right.
Yeah, of
and
course.
and you're always trying to learn everything and the best technique and where to study and who to be taught by, and you're so innocent because you're just conscientious. You want to become a skilled therapist, as it would be termed.
Right.
And so the traditions of my people and enhancement from elders through the years that have brought me into a fuller expression of my gift and ability, integrating both of those trainings and understandings, because one is a lifelong and one is an ongoing, of course. I just feel like it made me more effective at what I'm doing. And now, with the conditions in the world the way they are, it's the critical hour, and we really need to be as effective as we possibly can be so people can get the support that they truly need.
That's really a true thing. It feels like all of this is happening on our watch, and here we are.
Yes, yes, good way to put it.
I was looking through your website and I see that you have this program around wounded bear, and you use this term medicine story, and that was really intriguing. I'm wondering if you could explain a little bit about that program and what a medicine story is.
Yes, of course. Well, the wounded bear is a modern day medicine story, and it comes to our generation of people because we're ready to receive the medicine, or another way to say it is to receive the message that the story brings to us and the healing and the understanding so we can apply it in our lives.
Yeah.
The term medicine story is an ancient term, of course, and intertribally and even cross culturally may be used in different understandings. And the way that I'm sharing the medicine story is that, as you can associate the term medicine, it heals, it takes away pain, it restores us to good health and wholeness.
Mm.
In many cases, prevents illness too. So a medicine story has the power to heal you. And our medicine stories and understandings is that the medicine story emerges from an individual or a community, a situation that has occurred, which can be very ancient and old time that's been passed down, or in the case of Wounded Bear, in the modern day. This story came in this modern day time, and usually the individual or the community has a direct experience with loss in some capacity and has to overcome the dark night of the soul, has to go through a process, come through the fire in terms of healing, resolution, wholeness, and understanding. And once one has achieved that, there is the opportunity, if one chooses, to share the medicine. And that is this is how Wounded Bear came to be. It is a story that was written because I had come through a lot of systematic torture and things that shattered and devastated my soul.
Mm.
And I had to resolve that, and then I had to come to the terms of the authentic truth of the light of my soul, who I really am. And then out of that emerged Wounded Bear. I wrote the story in 20 minutes. I wrote it with
Wow.
the intention, yeah, with the intention to impact the community, because I saw what I would term the great mistake going on in our society. We were punishing hurt people instead of helping them heal
Right.
with our penitentiaries, our juvenile, our corrections, our punishments, or all the things that we do to sanction instead of look at the solution for healing, which brings people out of the darkness and they become an integral part of our circle and communities. They're some of our best healers and teachers and leaders, and we don't want to lose them. So Wounded Bear came because I wanted to contribute. After sharing the story, I discovered that it wasn't just my story; it was our story as a society, as a human family, and taking me into schools and prisons and conferences, keynotes, all kinds of things around the world, and means a lot to the veterans community because it takes us through the healing and the transformation, offering a blueprint for healing for those who are seeking, and offering the specific tools for those who choose to be part of the solution to help others heal, what to do. And so it's been an honor. I've been sharing it since 1997, and we just came back from London, and we had an opportunity to share at the University of Roehampton, and so there's just this
Nice.
ongoing it doesn't, with each year, it seems to just deepen in its impact. And I'm very moved to be able to share it.
And I heard you say in there that as a result of having to go through some extreme traumatic challenge of your own, it gave you the ability to bring something like this through because you've been down at that bottom of that pit, if you
Yep.
would. And I think the other thing I heard you say in there that just really strikes me is that, you know, these people that are in corrections facilities and in juvenile detention centers can end up being some of our greatest healers because they too have been through hell, or are wounded warriors coming back from these war zones that are hellish.
Yes.
What do you think it is about being through those awful, awful experiences that helps one be able to help others heal?
And one of the things that when we're telling the story, we talk about in our tradition, there are snake medicine people, and these are people that can be bit by a rattlesnake and they can transmute the poisons of the snake bite into medicine. They don't get sick like the rest of us would.
Hmm.
So in life, we can have snake bite experiences and the poison can destroy us, of course, or we have an opportunity, it is a choice. We can choose to transmute the poisons of our experience into medicine that can help and heal others. And our veterans community, one vet to another, when you feel that people do not understand what is needed, then you may be the next teacher, the next leader to step out and start to guide us all
Right.
out of this misunderstanding. And that's what Wounded Bear is. That's what this, when you've lived through it, there are certain things that you see. I was on the floor of despair. I had no hope. And what got me there, I understood that. But what got me out of that? That's the things that we're excited to share.
Yeah.
And they're very, and when there's hope, I have watched people that everyone else gave up on get up off the floor of despair and live their lives in a way that truly blesses their heart and their family and their communities because they just didn't know how to move out of that despair. And when given the opportunity and the support and the respect of the circle to take those steps, I've actually, I'm trying to think of someone I've said that said no. It's just that a lot of it is the despair one develops as a result of what's ever mirrored to them in their lives and through their pain. And when that illusion is shattered,
Yeah.
really exciting to watch people take hold of their opportunity to live, truly live.
And for that person to finally hear from somebody else that they've been through it too, and you can have hope because look, I was in a similar situation and now I'm out of it. Look, you can do this too. Here's the blueprint, like you said.
Yes, and to simplify the blueprint, I would say I needed to tell my story, let the pain go in the presence of love. That's how I healed.
Mm.
And that's just a simple, with love can come in many forms with community or spirit or just even the self love one must develop. You get to invest in your own well being and telling the story. It can be horrific. I've just had a veteran here recently says, these are stories I can never tell another. I said, well, this is a place those stories can come forward.
Yeah.
And he made a choice to do it and he brought some others with him. And so the power of making that commitment to go places where no one is willing to go, I had to do that in my own life. And I'm not tormented by those things that I went through in the past. And the reason I'm not is because I had the opportunity to let it go.
Yeah.
It's such an important part of the journey.
It's so challenging to hold that stuff in our minds and in our bodies and keep it hidden away. That takes energy to hide that stuff away, I would imagine.
Yes. And we have ceremonies. We have ceremonies to allow for that to come forward, that create the safety and the support to hold you in a time of devastation so that you can move through. We have medicines that we use, herbs that are not chemicals, but herbs that bring a peace to the heart and to the body and recovery from illness. There are all these things that are in the natural world, these earth medicines that can bring a blessing. And I know in the modern day, in the field of science, there's many good things in the medical fields and all of that. And there are some other things that people maybe don't want to participate in because they don't like the chemical and the side effect and all that. So we're the alternative. We offer other types of support, and people find that a nice complement to their healing journey.
And it makes sense too, because I don't know of anyone who's ever healed a trauma by taking a pill.
I didn't. Yeah, I had needed something else
You
for
know,
sure.
all the energy that gets trapped in the body after being through
Yes.
something that is awful, it just makes sense that you would have to move the body, and that you might have to emote, and that you might have to use your voice in ways maybe you've not used it before, to let whatever that energy is just come out and be expressed, so that you don't have to carry it anymore.
Yes, excellent. Well stated. And I know that one of the things I do ask people to do is to commit to doing whatever they need to do. There are
Mm.
some who don't, they want to self medicate. They don't want to, it hurts too bad and they're
Yeah.
too much anxiety and upset. And really, that all that means, that depression, that anxiety, that terror, whatever it is, it's a call to healing.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for healing. It's an opportunity to move, like you said, to express. Your heart needs a voice. In the Seneca, we say, Halloween. Your heart needs to express. If your heart expresses what it needs to, whether it's rage and terror and just the story of your life that's causing you great challenge, then all of a sudden the anxiety falls away. The depression is gone. The anger and irritability around for those around you or within yourself, it dissipates. And who doesn't want that? Everyone wants that, to
Right.
find that peace and health. That there's a lot in the news right now about mental health and stigma, to allow the health of the mind and the body and the heart and the soul restored. That's what we're going for.
Yeah, and yet in Western culture, we're taught. I know I was taught that if I'm not a good singer, well, then I probably shouldn't. I should just be content to listen to the good singers,
Hmm.
or I've got no rhythm, so I shouldn't dance, or I shouldn't move my body if I'm not good at it. And as a result, we have, and I see this just in drumming workshops, people that are afraid to do anything that's expressive besides talk. And even some people have a challenge with that.
Yes,
So
yes,
it's like we get pounded with this message that we have to be the virtuoso, we have to be the best, we have to be number one, or we shouldn't. And
yes, yes.
it just seems,
Pounded. Yeah, it's a good word.
how'd that happen?
Yeah.
Well, I've got all kinds of ideas. We won't go into them today.
Yes, and part of the circle we have, in the circle we have a center, and we're inside the medicine wheel, and we're always in the center of the medicine wheel in our life. And when we're in the circle with others, each person has a gift, and their gift is unique, and we need everyone in the circle to for the success of Earth's children. Everyone's gift and voice and way that they express needs to be honored and realized. And so, if there's just a slant and there's only a certain select few that have that opportunity based on their development, and the rest sit in silence, the circle is unhealthy.
Yeah.
So, we really need everyone's gift and participation for the success. And because we're in the critical hour to lead, part of our prophecy time hundreds of years ago is that this would be the time when the people would come together in the circle, all cultures,
Mm.
all faiths, all beliefs and ways of life. We would come together and share our gifts, and that would lead Earth's children out of darkness. And that is the time is now. So this is not the time to step back when someone's better. This is the time to step forward in your unique gift. We really, really need you.
Yeah, it's a leaning in to what's happening now. And
Yes.
kind of like, if you're unwilling to do that, it's almost like, if I want my whole body to be healthy and I'm only working my bicep, my right bicep, I'm just lifting weights on that one side of my arm, but I'm neglecting the rest of my body, I'm going to have a really strong arm, but I'm still going to get sick, because the rest of me is not in balance.
Yes.
You mentioned a moment ago, if we could just pivot over to the work that you do with veterans. And I remember hearing the story about a trip that you took with some vets to Vietnam. I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing that story and that experience with us.
Absolutely. First, I would say I honor the men who made the choice to go on this journey of healing and reconciliation to Vietnam. And then for those in the community that supported them, those who supported the healing, as well as just family and friends who were standing with them with their hearts open and feeling and dealing with what was coming. We spent a year preparing. There's a lot that goes into preparations before the trip. We were in Vietnam for 3 weeks. Part of those preparations had to do with developing ceremony. Each man was to develop ceremony for their healing at their AO, the place they were originally assigned, where maybe the most difficult and tragic thing had occurred. So that was done out of protection for their privacy. I wouldn't say anything about it, but to say that each one had a vision and a courage and a strength and a power to develop their ceremonies in accordance with what was needed, which had tremendous impact not only on them, but on the ripple effect of that type of healing is still felt today. Just
So
to set
these were Vietnam vets, right?
Yes, these were men who had been in country in the conflict. Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I got that out.
Yes. And we met also with their veterans in Vietnam. And so our vets and their vets, we came together in healing and reconciliation, which was just beautiful and powerful.
Wow.
And men who had been enemies became brothers. And one in particular, they just developed because they discovered that for them as men and in their true heart and their love for their families and their country, they had so much in common. And that also the recovery from what had happened to them in the war. And then there also was this discovery that it was the leaders of the nations that were in conflict and the cost it was to them. And so when they discovered they had more in common than anything else, and the willingness to tell the story with such courage and authenticity, raw honesty, it had such power for healing for both of them. I still to this day am moved by those moments of healing as it taught me the potential for we as people that we can have this potential to resolve our conflicts even at that level. And what are the factors that come into play that support that healing and recovery? It was very moving, yes.
Just hearing the story left an imprint that someone would consider, hey, why don't we take these guys over to meet their counterparts who they were fighting and help them and their counterparts to see each other as people first, not as Americans or Vietnamese, but just as human beings first. And it sounds like that's what you did.
Yes, and the thing that it's an individual choice. Each man made a choice to go and had a vision for it. It's not for all of our veterans. Many would not want and have no interest in it whatsoever, and that we honor and respect each one. But for these men, this was a very important part of their journey, and that's why I'm just in such awe and respect for the work that they did. And my role was just simply to set the stage for healing and bring in the ceremonies and the support for that healing to be realized. And so it was very transformative, I think, for everyone, not just those who sought the healing, but for all of us in that circle, both in Vietnam and all the people who stood with us there, as well as our people here. So
almost like the men going through the healing by virtue of doing their work, they help us do our own.
Excellent. Yes.
Now, without divulging anything that would infringe on their privacy, did they use any music or drumming or anything like that together?
Yes, we had the spirit calling songs, and that way it was used. But most of the specifics had to do more with actions they needed to take when they were in country. So, but we always start with calling on the powers. So
beautiful,
that's an important part of it. Yes.
Before we finish up, I just have a couple quick things to ask. So one of the things I like to do on this podcast is to give the listeners something that they can do, something that they can use in their own life that helps them with whatever their challenge might be. We do a lot of stress relief things and things for sleep and depression. I'm wondering if you have anything like a short idea or an exercise that somebody out there listening could do for themselves.
Yes. I think that one of the most powerful things that you can do is realize your connection to Earth and understand that you're a child of the Earth and that you're meant to be in relationship with those standing people, trees, those rock people, the Sky Nation, those stars in the heavens that are campfires of our ancestors, and just the smells and the scents and the wind and the beautiful leaves of now. And so getting outside every day in some way and seeing maybe roots coming from the bottoms of your feet going into the earth, that you're like a tree that is grounded. You'll take, if you're not feeling grounded, feeling really stressed out and irritated, just allow yourself to be grounded. When those roots go into the earth and take them down as far as you need, and then you're bringing up, and you can really invite the nutrients of the mother to bring up through your body and breathe. You can use your breath to breathe in those nutrients, to take that to any place you need. You might feel your whole body fill up. And perhaps it's a white light, a green light. Lime, I see lime a lot of times, the deeper greens and colors and just richness. Perhaps that's coming up. But we're meant, just like a tree, if you took a tree out of the ground, it would die. We're meant to be connected to the earth. And that's not taught in the schools. That's not a regular thing. And we get sick. We're spending too much screen time, and we're in these square buildings, and we're not having that chance to be on the earth. So that would be something I'd highly recommend. Is you may be a walk in the park, going up to the lake, wherever, a sacred place in your backyard, even one tree in the city. A little bird comes and sings, paying attention to the song of that bird. It'd draw you into oneness with the divine. It draws you into oneness with creation. It draws you into oneness with the divine life that is within you. And it's very powerful to do and realize.
Wow, that's beautiful. And it's that reminder that we aren't separate from any of those things, even though we might feel like that sometimes. Like we are one with that thing, or all of those things. Beautiful.
Absolutely. And it can be transformative. What was funny is that just recently on social media, they had a science proves what I just said. I'm so excited when science catch up to it. They're catching up, going, this is proven they took like brain waves and had scans and all this. Totally changed your pattern. I was like, oh, well, good, because more people do it. However it works.
Whatever it takes to get people just to take care of themselves and to remember that life can't always be lived through our screens. That there's so much more richness outside. When I went through my healing process this past year, that was the thing that helped the most, was just being outside and walking.
Excellent.
And walking.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, Cheyenne, I so appreciate you taking the time to answer some questions this morning. I think our listeners are really going to get quite a bit from this. If people want to support your work, I know that you do all kinds of things. You do a lot of pro bono work. How can they get in touch with you? How can they support you?
Well, the first thing always is that right now, the expansion of Redbird is going in a way that I need a team out here. I need to hire people. I need to really allow for that expansion and support. So donations and support to the work is really critical at this stage. And if you are connected with others that could support us in this work, please reach out to them. I can't go everywhere I'm needed, and I'm not really good at sitting in the office and writing grants, so I really need help in that way.
Yeah.
And then certainly good energy and just intention and prayers, however that goes. We have volunteer events. Please come and join us. We're going to be opening up the center to a lot more of those types of events. We even have an Artisan Week coming up in March, the center will be open for a whole week, where people can come in and share their arts, their gifts. If a painter wants to paint, awesome. If somebody wants to do a performance, we welcome it. If others just want to sit at the table and beat around a fire and tell stories, it's just going to be open for people to allow that creative force to move through them and to share whatever technique or gift they wish to share, and a lot of covered dish and fun. But we're really doing a lot in that way for community into the future. We're going to have an elders retreat, a children's retreat, with a lot of different things cross-culturally and intertribally into 2020. And I'll be sending out some information. I can send it to you, Jim, and you can, let your listeners know what's going on. And we invite them in for building community, because that's a big part of what supports all of us, is being connected.
Absolutely. And this is the Redbird Center in Cambridge, Ohio. This is Eastern Ohio.
Yeah.
And they can find you redbirdcenter.org. Is that right?
Yes. We're in the forest. We got 10 cabins, 70 beds on 69 acres, and you're welcome to visit.
It's on my list. It's a beautiful place. I've been there a couple times, and I will make sure I include the website and your contact information in our show notes, so that way listeners over time can get a hold of you and connect with you and find ways that they can be a part of that.
Excellent. Well, we welcome all of that.
Well, Cheyenne, thank you so much again. It's been great having you today, and maybe we'll have another conversation another time.
Well, it's been my honor, Jim. It's always a pleasure to visit with you, and certainly to just share this good medicine way with your listeners. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Take care. Now, before you go, I'd like to let you know about a free resource I made for you. It's called the SoundHealth newsletter. In it, I share the latest research in music and health in an easy-to-understand form. I also share beginner-friendly music and wellness exercises that you can use every day to feel your best. When you sign up, you also get discounts and first access to all of my Sound Health products and events. Remember, it's completely free. If you'd like it, just visit donovanhealth.com and enter your name and email address, and I'll start sending you new issues right away. While you're on the website, you can also read full transcripts of this show and check out a ton of other valuable resources, and enter your name and email address, and I'll start sending you new issues right away. While you're on the website, you can also read full transcripts of this show and check out a ton of other valuable resources. If you have any feedback, send me an email to feedback@donovanhealth.com. All the information presented on this show is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Lastly, come and visit me on our Sound Health Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube channels. I'd love to see you there. The Sound Health podcast is produced by OmniVista Health Learning and Donovan Health Solutions. For Sound Health, this is Jim Donovan. See you next time. Take care.